Hello, 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 and welcome to another Fantasy Football SCOUTCAST. As always, you're joined by me, Andy, FPL Mode, and we are also joined by the, what are we going to go with this week? Ever affable Seb, how's it going?
Affable. Thanks, mate. It's always like a bubble. There's always like a fubble in there,
Yeah,
isn't
I
there?
know. Or there
That's
will
like,
always
yeah.
be a football.
It's FPL, mate. There'll always be a football. Yeah, it's going well, thank you, mate. I'm tired after the weekend, but cheerful enough. It's a nice time of year, right? It's like, going autumnal. No, I mean, it's got a new school year for you, I guess, but I quite like it, New football season, new rugby season. Like the weather's calming down, but it's still bright enough.
Oh.
Bulking season, which basically means you get to eat food, lift heavy weights, and pretend you're doing it for a good reason. And then we get to look forward to Christmas. I like it. I think it's my favorite time of year.
Exactly. I love how you were saying how you love this time of year, but you didn't mention FPL at least even once there.
Well, a new football season. So
Lovely stuff. And we are also joined by Rich Flapjack. How's it going, Rich?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. And it's always bulking season for me,
Yeah,
no matter what time of year.
I like it. I like it. And obviously, we've had we're still in the game week at the moment. Literally while we're streaming, Chelsea Fulham is on in the background. I'm sure Colwell will be getting me a clean sheet, and Sterling owners will be. Oh no, wait. Sterling owners will not be overly happy because, of course, Sterling is benched, which is not good for those people that have a Stupinan first on their bench. They will be having a bit of a nervous wait. I've even seen in the community somebody that's got Watkins first on their bench and they're playing Sterling. So they are waiting to see whether they get 23 points and other managers get -2. So what a swing that would be. We have a bumper show for you tonight. Two of us are on Wildcard. I won't spoil it and tell you who. It's me and Seb. And we're going to be looking at our points. We're going to be looking at our wildcards. We're going to be, before we look at wildcards, we're going to be looking at captaincy for the next 8 game weeks because there's some interesting discussions that's been going on recently. And there's also been some interesting discussions about whether we could possibly lose the most owned player in the game. But we're going to be talking about that a little bit. We could be wrong, but you never know. We might talk about it. We're going to be looking at some wildcards, 3 wildcards in particular. Going to be doing our over-unders, and then we're going to be looking at our teams as well. Rich, yours is obviously the only team that we can talk about in terms of what moves you're going to make with your free transfers, with me and Seb both being on wildcard. But before we do anything else, let's have a little bit of a chat and see how we've gotten on this week. So I've only gone down 100k this week. I'm going to take that as a win because that is absolutely brilliant compared to what I have been going down recently. I had Pickford in goal with 1 point. Colwell, who is playing now. Kabore with 1 point. Oh, I didn't realise he got 1 point. I thought he got 2. Saliba with 6. And Boomer with 2. Saka with 9. I feel a little bit let down with him only getting 9. He gave up 2 of his penalties, which I was not very happy about. Foden got 2. Rashford got 2. Bruno got 2. Alvarez got 8. Finally. And Haaland was my captain, who only got 4. Estupinan sitting first on my bench with -2, who will now not come in, thank goodness. Udogie with 1. Osula, who continues to drop with 0. And Turner with 3. So I still managed to get it the wrong way round with Pickford and Turner. 37 points, only down 100k. Cole and Kabore still to play. I am quietly optimistic that I might end up with a green arrow this week. If Colwell manages to keep a clean sheet, I tell you, we'll see what happens. I'm not holding any hope, but we'll see what happens. So 37, only 100k green, but the 100k red, but the wildcard button has been pressed. Rich, on to you, and I'm not going to lie, your hero of this year so far, that man Trippier, is just sitting there beautifully in the middle. Talk us through your points so far.
I mean, he did most of the points this week. To be fair, I'm down from 400k to nearly 1 million. I've got Pickford in goal with 1. Robertson, who was playing for 9 men, he got 0 because he got booked really late.
Yeah.
And then they conceded obviously their own goal really late. So yeah, no points from him this week. Walker again. Somehow I think City conceded 1 shot,
Yeah.
but they let in 2 goals and Walker got booked, so another 0. I can't complain with my defender luck recently. And yeah, Trippier's I think that's 38 points in 3 game weeks since I bought him in.
Fair play.
Rashford got 2, Bruno got 2, Sterling has a virus, that's why he's not playing tonight apparently. Saka with 9, gifting penalties, and Mbumo with 2. Haaland captain, and then Morris got 8 points with a game to play. But with the captaincy decision, I think by Thursday when I recorded with Praz, I'd set my mind on the fact I wasn't going to captain Morris. I was going to play it safely.
Fair enough.
And it's yeah. No, I mean I'd say it's backfired. I mean it's not the worst result. Morris, it's probably more than I expected him to get. And then Estupinan was my second sub behind Archer. So if Sterling doesn't play, at least I'll get 2 points instead of -2.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
That's something. That's the best bit of the week.
I'm glad you. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said that. You were kind of set on the Morris move there, because I was wondering about captaincy, because I know there was quite a split in terms of people that were looking and people that were bringing Morris in. There was a bit of a split between captain him and Haaland, but you were pretty set on Haaland, were you?
Yeah, there were massive. I mean, I think part of it was because I'd had a couple of good weeks, and then sometimes I feel like I can get overconfident and do something stupid.
Yeah.
Not that captaining Morris would have been stupid, but all models, etc. It's very, very close.
Yeah.
With Morris just ahead. I just thought it wasn't the best spot. I thought best case scenario, Morris might score 2 goals over 2 games. And even that felt optimistic.
Yeah.
Well, he could have had a goal and an assist. He did hit the post, didn't he? And then that's where the goal came from.
Yeah, very true. I thought it was a good one. I mean, obviously, I had Pickford, you had Pickford. We weren't expecting. I mean, Luton got their first win of the season and scored 2 goals away from home.
That's why I don't care. Like Pickford didn't return, because I was happy Morris scored. I guess it'd probably be different for yourself not having Morris, but I mean, you don't have to look at him in your team looking forward.
There was a lot of people, wasn't there, that said Morris needs 3 games to catch up Haaland. He's done it in 1. So there you go.
And Haaland didn't even put up the numbers against Wolves.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Wolves seem to be a bit of a bogey team for them, don't they? Remember the old Adama Traore and Jimenez days?
But we talked last week as well about there was that's a good point. And I remember a load of us bought in. I can't remember his name now. Not Neto, the fast little winger. He nutmegged KDB. Podence,
yeah.
He nutmegged KDB, and then a load of us bought him in partly because of that, maybe. And then there was the red card last season. I mean, there's been a few red cards in that fixture. There was a red card last season. I think it was Collins.
Yeah.
I think you had Kane captain that week, and they didn't get battered despite playing with 10 men for most of the game. So yeah. Maybe it is a bogey team.
Yeah, you never know. And speaking of bogeys, on to Seb's team. How you doing, Seb? Almost down to 2-0. What's going on?
Coming for you, Andy. I'm coming for you. I'm gonna catch you. Yeah, big number good, right, team? Big number good. Number go up. Yeah. I mean, bottled the captain decision, didn't I? Really, I was the opposite, Rich. I was on Morris all week, and bottled it last minute. Inexplicable. Fumbled.
That's worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, maintain what we were saying. It was pretty close between them, but I was on the side of the right outcome until the last minute when I checked. I have Edison in goal, who, similar to Rich's story with Walker, manages to concede the lowest XG in the league, but concede a goal. So that's that. Trippier, I think, was my highest scorer, which is nice. He was one of my transfers. Morris the other. Estupinan with -2. Botman obviously with 0 there, but no one to help out on the bench. Gusto and Boduk also nothing. To be fair. Then Saka with 9, which is nice. Did actually play him this week, although bench some points, didn't I? Somehow managed to bench points in this absolute car crash of a team. Rashford, Mbumo, Fernandes and Foden all did nothing. Haaland captain, bad times. Morris with the fixture to come. So, if he goes and scores a hat-trick, sure, I would have liked to have captained him, but I'll get some points that not everyone else will get, so that'll be nice. And then a bench of Turner, some people who didn't turn up, and João Pedro, who did get an assist off the bench this week. But I can't have that assist because he's not on my team.
No, exactly. And it's an interesting one with Pedro. You mentioned it last week. They're putting up such amazing underlying stats in terms of their XG and XGI that even if players are coming off the bench, the likelihood is they might, they're going to get chances to get an attack and return. And he's proven that, hasn't he?
In a bit, when we look at the wildcards, you did, slight spoiler, you did a Haaland one and a no Haaland one.
Yeah.
But your no Haaland one does have a City player. So I was like, I'll double down on that and I'll have no City player. And in that slot, I had the perfect value for like a Ferguson or a João Pedro. And I was like, give it 2 weeks, put someone in for 2 weeks, then get one of them and start this pain all over again. But their fixtures, man, is it 10 onwards?
Yeah.
Their fixtures are lovely. And I think weirdly, obviously segue into the wildcard talk in a second, but I think weirdly, you might think, I can wildcard in 10 because that means I can get on Brighton's fixtures. But that's not the hard bit. The hard bit is getting on the actual players that will play. Even someone like Mitoma, sure, I think that's a great shout, but there are other midfielders we want. the defense and strikers seem the easier ones to find spots in your team, but those are the harder ones to call, it seems, in Brighton's team at the moment.
Yeah, it does indeed. It does indeed. And like you said, from Game Week 10 onwards, Brighton's fixtures are lovely. So we do need to be investing again. But it'll be interesting when we get closer to that, who we're going to invest in. You never know. Flappy might be wildcarding by then. Right, let's have a look at something a little bit interesting now. So there has been a little bit of chat. And actually, I've been mainly shouting at Seb and Rich, talking about the opportunity to maybe go against Haaland captaincy quite a bit in the next 8 game weeks, or maybe even going against Haaland as an asset in the next 8 weeks. Now, I jumped on with my mate Ferrell and said, could you do me a graphic showing Son, Salah and Haaland over the next 8 game weeks? So from game week 8 to game week 16, which is actually 9, isn't it? Yeah, over the next 9 game weeks. Just to show Haaland's fixtures and how good Son and Salah's fixtures are in terms of who we're going to be captaining every week. Because if it starts looking like we're not captaining Haaland as much as we are, or as much as we have done previously, is it that we can get rid of Haaland and get a Salah and then start moving funds around? Maybe because Alvarez has emerged, that all of a sudden, losing Haaland could be something we could do. Now, I know what's going to happen. The chat's going to go, whoa, what are you doing? You can't lose Haaland, 200% EO order. Yeah, I know, I get that. But you have to look at it, from an unbiased point of view. Look at it, even if you don't want to lose Haaland, just think about, could I not captain him in the next couple of weeks? And I was talking to Rich before we came on, saying, even if it's just that you need Salah or Son over the next 9 game weeks to make sure you've got a captaincy option to go against Haaland. Now, what we've got up on the screen at the moment is, as I've said, they're fixtures all the way from game week 8 to game week 16. Okay? Now, if we just go through each week very, very quickly. So, Son, Salah, Haaland. In game week 8, Son's got Luton away, Salah's got Brighton and Hove Albion away, Haaland's got Arsenal away. Rich, which one would you be captain out of those 3?
I guess we have to assume that Son's not injured. And I guess one thing to say before all of this is Son, his minutes don't seem as assured as Salah or Haaland.
He's being flogged a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, his look like they could be 80, 85 at best.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, ignoring that, I'd say Salah would be my preference for captain this week. Obviously, he's the only one I don't own. But
yeah, Seb?
Unmute himself. I mean, if fit, Son, and I think we'll know, right?
Yeah.
And then therefore, if we find out he's not fit, decision's made for us. I feel Salah as well. I think that's fine. But I think I'd go Son if fit.
Yeah.
Just on Son quickly, because I guess we're going to be talking about these 3 quite a bit. It wasn't just the injury, inverted commas, that he came off with at the weekend. It's just the fact that he keeps being subbed early as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I think that's valid, but it's like 80 minutes, isn't it? Also, which I think is still against Luton. I think that fixture is good enough to make up for 10 more minutes against Brighton.
But then I guess it's not really 10 more because we're seeing more injury time. We're seeing players like Haaland get, like 98 minutes, for example.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. If it was like, I guess in traditional sense, then say you get subbed off on like 74 or something, to make it to the old 94 minutes of a match. Yeah, that's a reasonable point. I think I'd probably still edge Son, but if you're fiddling with your X minutes, I guess that's one to keep in mind, right? If you give them 89, that actually could be 99 versus 89.
Yeah. So keeping those arguments in mind, so when we're looking at each week, because those arguments are going to be prevalent every week. Next, we've got game week 9. So Son's got Fulham at home, Salah's got Everton at home, Haaland's got Brighton and Hove Albion at home. Which one would you be captaining there, Seb? That's close.
Salah.
Ooh. Rich?
Actually,
this is the Salah. This is a Salah week. However, I feel like if everyone had all 3 assets in their team on a free hit that week, Haaland would be the one everyone would captain.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean, as in I think on paper Salah's the best captain, but when you take into account the fact that Haaland's a robot, people are very attached to Haaland. I think that would be the one where people would still want to captain Haaland if they had all 3.
Yeah.
This is one of those ones as well where like I'm going to see if I can very quickly bring this up on the Scout site, the like XG against so far. Fulham, yeah, we expect to be bad. Everton expect to be bad, although I don't think they've been as worse as we'd think. And Brighton have actually been surprisingly bad. So far we have Brighton have conceded 11.4 XGA, Everton 9.5, and Fulham 13.1. Now, obviously, you want to adjust for fixtures there, right? I don't have that in front of me. So, if say, for example, Fulham, who are the bottom of that, have the hardest fixtures, then maybe you want to be a bit kinder to them. But yeah, according to that, Everton have had the best defence out of them, Fulham the worst, and Brighton in between. If you think Haaland is much better than Son, which he may well be, especially, if you think Son is better on the counter or what have you, yeah, maybe Haaland does come out up front there.
So game week 10, Son has Crystal Palace away. Salah has Forest at home. Haaland has Man United away. Rich, which one you captain him?
It just reminds you of the
Stop it. I know.
last season.
It's not game week 9, mate. It's fine. It's game week 10. You don't have to worry about it.
I was on Salah, so I was. It's got to be Salah. I don't know why I'm thinking about it so long. I was just thinking back to last season, but yeah, it's got to be Salah.
Seb?
That's very comfortably Salah, but it does remind you a lot of. It's been game week 9 2 years in a row, hasn't it? Where we've had a captaincy decision that's gone weird.
Yeah.
Or was it selling the Liverpool assets last time? Something like that. And yeah, this feels the same again because it was Man United last time too, wasn't it? That Haaland destroyed like 3
Trafford, I think,
assists
as well.
Him and Foden, yeah. Foden got a hat trick, so did Haaland, didn't he? So, okay, game week 11. Son has Chelsea at home. Salah has Luton away. Haaland has Bournemouth at home. Comfortably Haaland there, Seb?
I think this is the only one. So when you sent this earlier, which is it was an awesome graphic, by the way, when I was looking at this, I think 11 was the only one where I'd be like, I kind of wish I had Haaland that week. All the rest, I would feel okay if I had Son and Salah. So yeah, I think this is the one where you go easy Haaland. But if you don't have Haaland, Salah's a great option against Luton, right?
Yeah. Rich?
Yeah, I think Seb's nailed it there. I mean, Haaland seems like the obvious one, but then if Haaland didn't exist, you'd feel very excited about Salah away at Luton.
Yeah. Game week 12, Son has Wolves away. Salah has Brentford at home. Haaland has Chelsea away. Seb, what do you think?
I would be tempted to go Salah here. I think, the colours here, which I assume are just based on the fixture ticker, can sort of, I guess, make us think Wolves. But again, maybe I'm biased by the City result. I think Wolves have been surprisingly good in some of those tougher fixtures so far this season. I wouldn't be surprised if they can do a job there. Looking at the SGA, though, they conceded 13.3, so I might be talking complete nonsense. Maybe they're terrible. But I'd be interested in wondering if Wolves can, do a job on Spurs and therefore maybe think Salah, Brentford. But hey, Brentford are good too. So easy answer is Wolves.
Sorry, I just got really excited because Colwill just got an assist.
You get an assist?
Yeah, for a Madrid goal. I know. Right, I'm
not getting lucky with defenders.
Amazing.
I've had Colwill from the start as well. Right, I'm going to be smiling for the rest of the stream now.
Nice one, man.
Cancel the wild card. He's got a couple more good fixtures.
He's gone.
Going to get price rise, mate. When you transferred him out, your value is still going to get worse.
Game week 13. Son has Villa at home. Villa are a lot worse away from home.
I don't think you asked Rich about 12, by the way.
Oh, sorry, 12. Rich, which way are you going? Sorry, I'm all over the place.
You smiling. For me, it'll be Salah at home to Brentford. And to be honest, outside of game week 8, I'm pretty much eliminating from Son from this conversation. I feel like it's Salah against Haaland for me.
Yeah. Game week 13, Son against
Did I say
Villa.
Salah against Haaland.
I got so excited for Andy.
Salah against Haaland.
It's 2-0 now.
He's just scored, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's actually.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, get rid of Jackson, get rid of Sterling. They can score goals.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Game week 13, Son's got Villa. Salah's got Man City away. Haaland's got Liverpool at home. Which way are you going, Rich?
This is... Oh, sorry.
See, for me, I think it's Haaland here. I know Liverpool are good. The second best team in the league is looking like now. I think I'd still go Haaland, even though Villa are bad away from home.
Seb?
I mean, I was going to say similar. I was just about to say this is one of those tricky ones where you immediately go Villa and then Haaland scores 2 against Liverpool. If I don't have Haaland, I'll be happy enough with Son. But Villa away, they're all right. They're a lot better at home, I think, off the top of my head. So if I owned all 3, I'd probably make a Morris mistake, right? I'd go for my some risk averse effective ownership and go Haaland and Son would score a hat trick. Yeah. If I don't have Haaland, I'll be happy enough with Son.
So game week 14. Son's got Man City away. Salah's got Fulham at home. Haaland's got Spurs at home. Seb?
I mean, that's easy Salah, isn't it?
Yeah. Rich?
So annoyed about Sterling missing this game. Salah.
Game week 15. Son's got West Ham at home. Salah's got Sheffield United away. Haaland's got Aston Villa away. Rich?
That's another Salah one.
Yeah. Seb?
Oh, yeah, Salah.
And then last, so game week 16, which is where I think Haaland's tough fixtures stop, Although I say stop, obviously they're quite nice there. Son's got Newcastle at home. Salah's got Crystal Palace away. Haaland's got Luton away. Rich?
I mean, Haaland.
Yeah. And Seb?
Yeah, this is Haaland. And this is where, so, but bearing in mind they blank in game week 18,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is where, whatever you're planning, you probably think, can I get back to Haaland?
Yeah.
And potentially, is that a Son out, if I remember off the top of my head? I think
Yeah.
the way you did it was getting rid of Son. Maybe you get rid of Son in 14 and have Haaland for that Villa match.
Yeah. So we've just gone through there. That's game week 8 all the way to game week 16. And I think, apart from some little contentious ones, like potentially Rich does it against Liverpool at home, it is pretty much you're only going to be captaining Haaland twice in the next 9 game weeks.
I mean, I had him 4 times.
I think there's one hey, what Richard said probably backs that out. I think there's one important overarching point, which is if you had already used your wild card or don't want a wild card and want to keep Haaland, you don't look at this list other than one fixture, Arsenal away, that's it, and think, oh, I can't captain, maybe Chelsea away. I can't captain him in any of these, I'm in trouble. If no one was wildcarding, we all just had Haaland, you'd think this is fine. It's probably still default Haaland captain. I don't have Salah. Maybe I can get Son every now and again. So I don't think you need to be worried either way. This is more just if there's an opportunity to wildcard and an opportunity to spread your funds, can I survive without Haaland captain? And I think the answer is yes, because there are good opportunities elsewhere. But I don't think you need to be forced into either scenario.
Yeah. And also, and I mean, Rich, again, we chatted about this a little bit before because Seb was in the shower before the stream started. And we were saying how the thing is as well, if you don't go with Haaland, what do you do with the money? And that's the other big question, isn't it? And I know you're not going to, kind of reveal what we're going to be showing in the next minute or two, but that's the other big question, isn't it? It's not just you're not going to have Haaland, it's what do you do with that money?
Yeah, and I don't want to ruin what the screenshots you guys have got for the next bit, but I think there's ways to spend it, but I guess we'll get onto that. I guess a question I'd have here is, obviously you two would be wild carding without Haaland. I mean, potentially without Haaland. And then, like we said here, you're going to have to get him in for game week 16.
Yeah.
And then there's a blank in game week 18. And in game week 20, possibly if the double's confirmed, you're going to be wanting to bring in all these Brentford and City players and the right Brentford and City players as well. It feels like to wildcard Haaland out and then get him back and plan for a blank and a double, it's going to be most of your transfers.
Yeah. And I keep thinking that I basically, if I go Haalandless, then I'm basically choosing between him and Salah, if that makes sense. So if I'm going without Haaland, it's because I want Salah. And if I want Haaland back, I've got to get rid of Salah, I think. Unless someone becomes available, I can drop Son right down and then, boost Haaland straight back up again. But Salah to Haaland, I did it then. Salah to Haaland seems the obvious choice. But it's, like you said, it's trying to then get Haaland back with those other Man City assets by game week 20, which we're hoping is the double, isn't it?
And how many Son because you keep mentioning obviously Son, but
yeah,
I mean we said game week 8 Son could be a captain, and I think Seb said it for game week 12 as well, the Wolves away. Mm-hmm. Although that's not one that's like a clear, Son is the clear one. Unlike maybe this week a little bit more. So I mean, could Son be the one you don't have, and then you could just have Salah and Haaland? And then, like you say, you could drop down Son to someone.
I think you take Son for those first 2, 3,
and then he becomes someone cheap.
Then so in what we're looking at in a minute, I think I had a plan that, if I've got this wrong, correct me, but I think Man United's fixtures were good after 10 or 11. So I think you ended up doing Son to Fernandes. Obviously, that doesn't help you get Haaland back because you're just moving. Was it Saka? Thank you so much. Yeah. So yeah, that doesn't necessarily help you get Haaland back because you're not saving that much money. But in terms of do you need to hold Son all the way through this? I don't think my plan would be to do that.
So you'd wild card Man United players out, bring Son in, and then do Son back to the Man United players.
No, I think Saka, as Andy said.
Okay.
I think one of my teams had Fernandes in all the way through anyway.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the biggest things that I liked to do in the Son and Maddison move on the wildcard, because then I could lose one of them to get Saka, if that makes sense. But without any further ado,
one more question on that because you made me think. Sorry to
that's okay.
No segue, but
no, we're gonna have some ado. Carry on.
Okay. So obviously one of the things here is you don't have Haaland, you can have Alvarez. Is he ever a captaincy shout? In weeks where you're thinking Haaland, so obviously Man United away, you might think, look, that's a Haaland fixture, not Alvarez. But in weeks where game week 11 Bournemouth, I don't have Haaland, but I do have Alvarez. Am I captaining him over Salah, for example? Or in, I don't know, what was it, the Liverpool fixture that Rich did it? He's only 7 points behind him so far. A long way behind in terms of the underlying numbers, but 7 points.
Yeah, I think in game week 11, if you were going Haalandless, I think I would be happy captaining Alvarez against Bournemouth at home. It's just whether you do it instead of Luton away for Salah. That's the thing, isn't it?
You could get captain goals that lose you points.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, you could.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to watch it, basically, would you? Like Alvarez assisting Haaland, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Imagine.
yeah, exactly.
Imagine.
Right, let's have a look then. So, without any further ado, let's have a look at the first wildcard team. So, this is currently my wildcard team with Haaland. So, this is how I'm looking at the moment. Now, bear in mind, when I did this, my team value was 99.7. So, it is not what a lot of people had. So there had to be some sacrifices, and you'll see where the sacrifices are in the team. So I've got Areola in goal, and this is based on this week, okay? So I've got Areola in goal, Pedro Porro, who I'm really keen on to have, by the way, Cash, Mitchell, and Burn, Son, Salah, Maddison, Diaby, and then Watkins and Haaland up top. I'm annoyed Watkins got that hat-trick, because I was going to try and sneak him in anyway, and obviously it feels like it's reactionary now, but it's not, I swear. And then Kabore, Gordon, who is obviously suspended this week, and then Archer with Turner on the bench. I really wanted to go Areola and Leno, but that extra 0.7 makes a massive difference elsewhere. Now, the biggest misses here, I've got no Trippier. I've only got one Newcastle defender, but I do have Son and Maddison in there, and I wanted both of them. Diaby and Watkins, who I think is quite nice. Those Villa fixtures are lovely for quite a while there. And obviously you got Haaland, and I got Gordon who'd be able to come on. Like Mitchell's just going to be playing like this week pretty much, and then he's going to be on the bench. So that's kind of how it's looking at the moment. Rich, I'm going to go to you first, because I know me and Seb have been thinking about this an awful lot. Rich, straight away when you're looking at this, and I know what you're going to say, because you hate all wild cards at the moment, but what are you thinking when you look at it?
I don't hate them. I just put that out there.
But I think hate it's
a tricky time to what. So one thing I not hate, but I look at it, and you've got 3 penalty takers, and this is a season where you could easily have 7 penalty takers.
Mm-hmm.
So it just seems, and they're all the really expensive players. Like I get why you're doubling up on like Maddison and Son, although that seems like it's going to be short term if you're going to be selling Son pretty quickly.
Maddison probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think the pick, and he's very popular at the moment, Diaby. Like, and obviously watching him play is very, very exciting. I mean, he might even have a knock. But I mean, he doesn't always get 90 minutes. He's had a lot of early subs. He's not on penalties. He's one I don't quite get the hype. As in, I think he's a very, very good player, but it's almost seen as he's essential. And I think that you've got players like Eze who are on penalties and get more minutes. I knew you said would like that, but obviously Morgan Gibbs-White, he was benched at the weekend. I'm not sure why, so maybe not him. But there's so many options that are on penalties, and how many times have we had episodes where we've got lucky with penalties, or we've had a massive red arrow because someone else had a player who's taken a couple of penalties.
I will say Eze's fixtures are lovely, hence why I've got Mitchell in there as well. I wanted to go Anderson, but he's like 4.8, 4.9 now. So Mitch was just there because he kind of covers that Crystal Palace defence that seemed to be quite good recently. I just don't get it as much as Seb does with Eze. Like they don't really attack that much. The underlying stats aren't great for them. Yes, he's on penalties, but I just don't see it as much as going for someone like Diaby.
Did you like Zaha when he was more expensive?
Well, I've been with Zaha before, but you just watch them and you just think they're not what I want them to be when they're playing. As soon as you own them, you're watching Crystal Palace games and going, "Oh God."
Have you watched Aston Villa play away from home though?
Yeah, but at home they're good. At home they're good.
So
who
you're
are they playing this week?
away from home
away. You just bigged up Wolves as well.
This isn't a free hit, Sebastian. This is a wild card. So I'm picking. I'm picking Diaby for. Yes, I know. I went Sebastian. I went mother voice then. Seb, talk us through Eze then, because is Eze nailed in your team?
Really good at football, mate. I mean, you said they're like bad numbers or whatever, but you're looking at Palace, so I don't necessarily disagree that Palace as a team aren't something to get overly excited about. But you aren't picking Palace; you're picking the player that creates and does anything that they do. He's on basically all of their set pieces, including penalties. Nice, thanks, good one, Mum.
He's played for QPR.
He's on like all their set pieces, including penalties, which is obviously the big one. He creates all their chances. The ones he doesn't create, he seems to be on the end of. I know he hasn't got that many. He's got what, 1 goal, 1 assist, or something so far this season. But as we've seen, we don't have it tonight because we wanted to talk about wildcards. But he's constantly at the top of the underperformers, and I don't think the takeaway there is that he's not good at converting chances into points. I think the takeaway is there that he's putting up as good of numbers as basically any other player in the league, give or take, especially relative to price. You're basically saying as long as the fixtures are all right, which I think they are, do you think he's going to keep underperforming? The question isn't like, can Palace produce numbers or not? Because they are already via him. So it's just, can he turn those into points? And we've seen with that, was it the end of last season? Was it maybe after the World Cup or something, where similar sort of start, where I think he was quietly just doing bits and then suddenly just turned into their talisman and got a goal or an assist like every week. That could come.
We did speak about that though, didn't we? Because I remember talking to you about this before the season started, saying that Palace had to, didn't they? They had to go for it every game because obviously they needed to get the points. Whereas now they're quite happy to get those 1-0 wins. But I'm just looking, if you offered me Diaby, Eze, or because Neto's been mentioned an awful lot, and Gordon, like
that one's come out of nowhere, hasn't it?
Yeah, I know, he's done well, hasn't he? But you just look at, and Gordon, who obviously I've got on the bench there, who's suspended this week, which people got to remember. I just look at it and think, I'm not going to be when the week starts, I'm not going to be thinking, oh, here we go. I'm expecting a few goals from Palace here, so Eze could do well. And I know what you're saying. You're not investing in the team. You're investing in the player. But they're not scoring goals. So if they're not scoring goals, it's a bit like United. I wouldn't go for Højlund because we're just not creating chances.
Oh, he's already getting up on the underperformers list. I don't know if you saw that. He's like 1.4, 1.5 XG now, no goals. Terrible. I'll be picking him soon enough, mate. Get him up front with Darwin and Jackson.
Yeah.
You're not wrong in terms of he's not essential. Like, as you see, he's not like the one that has to make these wildcard teams work or anything like that, which we have seen in the past, especially in that price range, because there are other options. You've got two of them here in Gordon and Diaby, but I think you're underplaying, like you're saying, they're just not scoring goals. It's like, how many times have we seen a team just not score, or a player just not score goals? But as long as they're putting up the numbers, and he's not just putting up the numbers, he's on penalties and he's the center of anything they do. So it's not even like a sort of Jackson argument where it's like, oh, is he or isn't he a good striker? Eze has done it in the past, is central to everything Palace do attacking wise, and is going to get given free 0.8 XG shots a goal every now and again. So I think if he had done a Watkins last week, there would just be no argument. He has the numbers to do a Watkins. And I think, and to be clear, I'm going to do the thing where I'm taking the side where I big him up and therefore it sounds like he's essential. He definitely is an essential. But I think we're just falling into the same old trap again where he's talismanic, he puts up the good numbers, the fixtures are there, as long as you can navigate them correctly, and he's a nice price. The only thing he hasn't done is the points. And we know how that ends more often than not.
Go on then, Rich. So if I offered you those 4 players then, if I offered you Diaby, Gordon, Eze and Neto, who would you be picking? Because, for instance, this is a decision people might be making just this week, let alone, on a wild card. So which one would you be taking?
It would be, 100%. It would be Eze. And penalties have such a big swing. The answer would probably be different. How much did he pay you?
How much did
if he didn't have penalties? And also, I'm
wearing his mask
as a pick, by the way. I've just seen a lot of stuff this week where it's almost assumed that he's essential almost. As in, I've seen him in a lot of teams, where the debate is, if you wildcard this week on 10, you're going to have Diaby regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite see that. But also, I wanted to ask you a question about Gordon.
Yeah.
Because I get why you've got him. Obviously, he's banned and then he's going to be able to play and you've got a cheap way into the Newcastle attack.
Yeah.
When are you actually going to play him in this team? Because you've got...
Mitchell
I don't believe you're going to bench... Because the Villa fixtures are so good, you're not going to bench Haaland, Salah, Son or Maddison.
No, so Mitchell will drop out and Gordon will come in, I would have thought.
Got ya. Okay, yeah. Okay, actually, that makes perfect sense.
Play 3-5-2, yeah. Yeah. I was worried then because I was looking at it thinking, no, I'm sure that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think you did actually say that as well.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's all right. Yeah, it's I just like Gordon. I think he's turning into a bit of a talismanic figure for them, and he's playing a lot.
So you're going to play Gordon every week then?
Most weeks, yeah, probably. This is the problem with the pricing. With my team value, it's the only other thing I could do is obviously move Maddison down, and then I have a Son, Salah, Eze, Diaby, and then all of a sudden I've got a few other players I can play, and it's not too bad. But I don't mind playing Gordon most weeks with their fixtures coming up. But Yeah, it's obviously tough, and that's where the team value comes into it as well. I'm keeping Turner. Did not think I'd be keeping Turner on a wild card, but if I wanted to get a little bit more money, then obviously I could go Haalandless, and this is what we're looking at if I wanted to go Haalandless. And actually, if you're looking at it, the bench is exactly the same, but I think this had some money in the bank. I can't remember now, actually. I think this had one. No, I can't remember how much money in the bank this had. Maybe 0.7, 0.8. But I've got Areola in goal, Porro, Cash, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Trippier at the back. And you'd want to be playing those 4 most weeks. Son, Salah, Maddison, Diaby in the middle. So that's exactly the same. And then Alvarez and Watkins up top. So you're basically getting rid of Haaland and having Alvarez instead. And then you've got Trent and Trippier at the back as well. Now, don't get me wrong. I know what people are going to say about Trent. The Liverpool defence obviously isn't what it maybe used to be. But Trent's back now, very lowly owned. We know he can get brilliant scores every week. Does this tempt you at all, Seb?
Yeah, a lot. I think that team looks really good. We often see this, don't we? Salah-less teams in the past and everything. You look at the team and you go, "Oh my goodness, that's amazing! How have you afforded?" Oh, that's how you've afforded it. You don't have the scariest player in the entire game. So, yeah, I mean, a similar conversation here with you swap out a midfielder for another midfielder or what have you. And by the way, while you were talking, I just looked up per 90s for Gordon, Diaby, and Eze. Eze 0.53 XA XG per 90. Gordon 0.56, mate. And Diaby 0.66. Obviously, the big thing there is one of them has penalties. So it's like the Saka thing, where Saka, for reference for those numbers, last season Saka, Odegaard, and Martinelli were all like 0.5, but Saka had penalties. So it's a
and
similar
Diaby doesn't play 90.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've done per 90 there, obviously, so you need to adjust your minutes. But I think I definitely didn't expect Gordon to be ahead of Eze. Diaby top makes sense. I definitely expected Eze to be ahead of Gordon, so fair play. But again, yeah, you've gone for the same, structure away from where you've spent the Haaland cash. And I guess that's the main question. Would you do something even more radical? I guess you've upgraded Alex. You've got Alexander-Arnold and Trippier effectively over those poorer defenders. Otherwise, it's basically the same. In fact, is it almost identical otherwise?
It's almost
Because
identical.
you've still got Son, Salah, Maddison. Yep. Pedro Porro and Cash are both there. So, yeah, it's just like Mitchell becomes Trent, Burn becomes Trippier. You could probably do nicer goalkeepers here, I guess, if you wanted them, because you mentioned that as well.
Yeah. So
but that's literally the difference. That's interesting.
I think it was 0.7, and I think you could do Turner to, say, Leno. And then that is your limit. That is as much as you can spend.
That's where I looking at it like that. I wish I was smarter because I might be able to work it out on the spot. But Haaland versus Alvarez, plus then Trent and Trippier versus Mitchell, or I guess Gordon would play more often in the other team, right?
Yeah.
And then Burn and Trippier. Obviously, they'll both get give or take. They'll both get the same clean sheets. So it's just Trippier's attacking returns and his bonus, which makes a difference. But does it make enough of a difference to not get Haaland's captaincy? So you're kind of, I guess, relying on Trent to do Trent things in this team and Alvarez to cover Haaland a bit. Even though there's only 7 points between them now, I don't think anyone expects that gap to remain the same, right? If Haaland had taken a few more chances, it could be a lot bigger.
Yeah. And Rich, someone's mentioned it in the chat. Aston Villa Bozzy says, I'm telling you now, Andy, FPL and your weekends will be hell without Haaland. Don't do it to yourself. Is that what it is? Is it just to actually make the game easier for yourself? Just keep with Haaland. Don't think about the fixtures or anything. Just stick with him and find your edge elsewhere.
I mean, if people aren't going to be captaining him, they're still going to be hoping that Haaland blanks in those weeks. So I don't think anyone's going to really enjoy it. But that's one of the things about EO that makes the game a bit less enjoyable. Mm-hmm. I like this team a lot more than the other one. I mean, I wouldn't do it like this. I'll do it slightly differently. Probably I'll probably spend do you know what, I'd be almost tempted to play 5 at the back and just go get Robertson in for Kabore, downgrade Alvarez to anyone, I don't know, just a cheap playing striker, as cheap as possible, and then upgrade Diaby.
Basically have that next for you, mate.
Do you?
Yeah.
I haven't actually looked at these, by the way.
The only other thing I'll say is as well, a player that I really want to get in, but I'm finding it really hard to get in. I'd love to take a punt on Solanke for the next 3-4 weeks.
Oh,
yeah, I think he'd be my favourite.
Yeah,
because I was thinking about this earlier. How last season we couldn't have 7 penalty takers because we had to have all these Brighton players. Do you remember? So we had to have Matoma basically.
Yeah.
this season you actually could have 7 attacking players that make sense that are all on penalties.
Yeah.
So that's again why I kind of like Solanke. You'll be covering 7 of the 20 teams. I mean, I know players like Saka, he shares his penalties.
Yeah.
But he's still technically his first choice penalty taker. But I like the Solanke shout a lot, especially you'd save a bit of money as well, wouldn't you? What is he, 6.5?
6.4, 6.5.
6.4.
Yeah. It's whether you potentially go against Diaby, I guess, isn't it? You could move Diaby down and move Solanke up, and move Archer up to Solanke. I don't like the 4.5 mids though. Having a 4.5 mid on your bench feels not very nice. I've tried it a couple of times.
No.
It's not great.
No, the mids still seem like kings. And I guess just we haven't talked about Watkins that much.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's a great asset, but I sound really negative here. But he is slightly downgraded since last season. As in, I saw this stat that since Emery took over, he's actually matched, or he's only behind Salah and Haaland for attacking returns to goals and assists. However, he has lost his penalties now. So I think that does downgrade him a little bit.
Yeah.
I know what he's just done this week with really low XG, and I think he's a great pick. And I think if I wildcarded, I would have Haaland and Watkins. But I don't know. There is a case you could argue to go against Watkins as well and go for like Solanke if you needed the money.
Yeah.
I mean, traditionally, I think Watkins is like an average, if slightly below average, like XG converter. So scored a hat trick. Anyone who scores a hat trick is going to overperform their XG because just getting enough chances to make that balance out is unlikely in 90 minutes. And any player, especially a professional Premier League excellent striker, is capable of scoring wonderful goals from low XG. But I think the point is you shouldn't sort of maybe go, oh, he's now going to bang from, under 1 XG, he could get hat tricks. I think we have enough data to say that was an unlikely occurrence for him. Not that meant he was a bad pick. I think Andy mentioned it earlier, right? Now he's very popular. But when we'd been looking at this for a while, we'd all been saying Villa. We want Watkins or Diaby, maybe both for a while. I just don't think anyone expected a hat trick, right? And a goal and an assist here during the nice fixtures would have been enough for me.
Yeah. And by the way, we've mentioned Haaland a few times as well. And quite a few people in the chat have been saying, oh, you'd never go without Haaland. I will say, if you look at his stats, they're all exactly the same as last year in terms of his underlying and what he's producing. And we are very unlucky to have not seen him score more goals. You think, who was it he played where he blanked or only got 1 goal and he put up almost 3 XG?
There's the Son week. It was the week where Son could have been the captain.
West Ham game.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, West Ham. Yeah.
That's right.
He had because he took a penalty. Yeah, did he take a penalty in the end? Was it? Or
No, he took a penalty 1 week and missed, didn't he? Against Sheffield United.
I remember. There was, the Bernardo Silva goal.
Yeah.
Where Haaland didn't tap it on the line,
Yes,
but was
yeah.
this close. Yeah, he got over 3 XG without that. If you added that, he would have been pushing 4 XG or something stupid.
So
and got 1 goal. Yeah.
Any argument that the team's different, all that kind of stuff, he is still putting up all the stats that he was last year. He's just not obviously having the. He's just not finishing them as well as maybe he was last year, but
still top of the overperforming.
Exactly. So he's still really good. But on that note, Seb's made a little draft for us without Haaland or Alvarez. So talk us through this one, mate.
Yes, I mean maybe this answers a bit more what Rich was asking for. You'd make changes, of course, kind of just an example template for what you could look at. I think the first thing you'd do is you'd probably drop one of those defenders and play the fixtures a bit better. But I wanted to kind of demonstrate what you could do. So we have Raya in goal, who I think is being overlooked alongside Areola. The problem is that off the top of my head, I think it's 8 and 11. Both of them have tough fixtures. So you actually haven't picked a great goalkeeper rotation. So maybe you just double down on Raya and pick Turner as your backup, although Areola does have nice fixtures. But the gamble there, of course, is that Arteta's lying and that Raya is first choice. I don't know if I believe that, but if you take that gamble, I think you could be richly rewarded. That's a nice price for an Arsenal goalkeeper, especially with some good fixtures coming. The defence then, again, goes for the fixtures and some really tasty options. Obviously, double Newcastle. I had triple Newcastle at one point, but I think Cash and some Man United defence is very nice. Cash is essential, is a tough word, but I think for that price, for the attacking potential and for those fixtures in a good defence, I think Cash is a really easy pick. Dallow's nice. He's probably the droppable one. And then one of a Dougie or Porro. Porro's only 0.2 more. So I think if you can afford it, you definitely go Porro. Midfield then is where you've kind of spent your Haaland cash. And also, I guess, not having Alvarez helps here too. So I've got Rashford and Fernandes. Their fixtures are still, decent in a little bit, and they have all right numbers. They've not been performing. Of course, swap one of them for someone else if you don't like that either. It's more just a showcase that you can still have both of them. Maddison, Son, obviously, and Salah as well in that midfield. So a massive midfield. You then have Archer as your bench fodder striker, Watkins up front, and then this is the slot that could be. You mentioned Solanke. I think in this team I put together, I couldn't afford Solanke because he's a fair bit more than Edouard. But for example, downgrade one of the defenders, or don't keep the Fernandes and Rashford double. That's a pretty obvious one. Maybe downgrade one of them to your Diaby or your. I mean, Gordon would be a long way, or your Eze, whatever, and then you can upgrade
Morris.
Edouard to. Sorry, say again.
Oh, just Morris. He would be right there.
Yeah, you could have Morris. But yeah, then you could upgrade like Edouard to Solanke, or you could upgrade him to Alvarez and just have the same team we saw before. Yeah. But I think this shows that if you're looking at those fixtures and going, I don't need Haaland because I'm not going to captain him because the fixtures are tougher, should you also be thinking Alvarez is a lot cheaper and doing very well? But should you be thinking, oh, I should double down on that assessment and go no City at all for a bit and really try and squeeze those funds and the spots in my squad into those big midfielders who I think could get the big points? I don't know if I have the cojones to do it myself, if it makes sense, because as I just explained, like a very easy downgrade somewhere else immediately turns Edouard into Alvarez. That does feel quite easy, but it's available to you, and I think the midfield looks amazing.
I will say, and I'll ask Rich what he thinks about it in a minute. I think it takes more cojones. So I think it takes less cojones to go against Haaland than it does to have triple Man United on your wild card.
I mean, like I said, I know people will see this and be like, you idiot. It was more just to sort of, show that because one of these becomes Saka in like 2 weeks or something like that, maybe. Yeah. Or you just keep Saka, whatever it is. Or, again, don't have either of those. But it's more to show that you can have that midfield without, the Haaland and Alvarez picks up front.
Yeah.
And Rich, I think one Man United midfielder is still a good shout going forward, to be fair, especially in a couple of weeks.
Rich, what do you think?
I do quite like this. I mean, I don't condone wildcarding going without Haaland, but I really do like this. I think personally, if it was mine, I'd probably downgrade Maddison to Eze or someone like that, because I would want a Liverpool defender. I think. To be honest, one of the reasons I'm not wildcarding is because in a couple of weeks, having 3 Liverpool would be huge.
Yeah.
And I think just having Salah feels a bit. I mean, Liverpool have been incredible, and they've not had 11 men for most of their games. It feels like.
Yeah, they've had 4 send-ins off this year, haven't they? They only had 1 last year.
Yeah. I mean, one was really, really late in the game, wasn't it? But then they played. I mean, most of the 2, Newcastle game and Spurs game with 10 or even 9 men. And they've still been incredible. They've been incredible to watch. So I'd want at least 2 Liverpool players. So and Robertson's easier to squeeze in. So I'd probably downgrade Maddison to get there. But I like the idea of spending the money on the defenders. I mean, obviously I like that. That's what I've been doing. But there's so many good defenders at the moment. I think a lot of drafts I've seen have been trying to squeeze every penny out so that they can have Haaland, Salah, and Son.
Yeah.
But then the defenders are kind of not great. I mean, they might be good short term, but I don't feel like they're long term picks. And I think that's why a lot of people are wildcarding, because all the defenders have failed.
Yeah.
And then you're sort of like rotating to the next set of 4.5s or 5s.
I think you met on the defense as well. You make a good point in that. Just check the chat, as you said. Double Man United, fair enough. But I think if you were to rejig this idea to not this exact team, I think a Rashford down and introduce a Trent or a Robertson into the defence is quite a nice way to keep this idea of something being a bit different and a bit spicy, but maybe slightly more sensible going forward. And again, as you can see, I've done this on the transfer page. If you were to build this team, you're going to basically be benching a good player every single week. So there is money to be found in this team and like a better slot to be upgraded. One I'd love to do is Darwin, but I just don't think you can guarantee those minutes. But he'd be amazing if you could.
Yeah, Darwin's an interesting one. We're going to talk about him probably a little bit in the over or under, because with Gakpo now out, and I think he's out for a couple of weeks, I'm assuming that makes Darwin...
I take it back. I'm on wildcard and Darwin's nailed.
Yeah.
There's international break coming up.
Yeah.
So where's he travelling to this time?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's travelling to my team, Rich. That's where he's travelling.
Just before we move off this as well, I wanted to ask both of you. Rich... No, Seb, because I think you owned him before Wildcard. Botman. Would you be going Botman on Wildcard now? Because obviously he sounds like he's going to be back after international break, so it's only 1 week you don't have him for. Would you be taking the risk in getting him? Because I do feel like he's more nailed on than Burn, because Burn could see a bit of rotation with Hall when, Champions League and everything starts up again.
Worth noting, Botman Burn has actually played 90 every week so far. So what I think you're right. I think his spot is more at risk than Botman's, but so far, we haven't seen that happen. I mean, if Botman is still flagged when you've got to the end of your wild card and the deadline's arriving, of course you go Burn. I don't even think you get Botman and then bench him. I think you just go for the starters. But if we think Botman is available to play, he's not cheaper anymore, is it? Well, they were the same price. He's now 4.6. So one worth keeping in mind is if you've already bought him, I think has he gone from 4.5 to 4.7? So your selling value is 4.6. It may be worth holding just because you paid 4.5 for him. You would have to pay 4.7 to get him back and would only get 4.6 from selling. So you would cost yourself 0.1 if you ended up moving that around on your wild card, playing around with it, and then Botman was fit. So might be worth keeping, while you're tinkering, just for that reason. But I think when you get to the deadline, you just go with whoever's going to play for you, especially if you need them this week.
Yeah. Rich, do you think the same? Would you go for him now, or would you just go for another one?
I mean, it's another reason that I don't particularly lean towards wildcard this week because, I mean, yeah, you'd have to go Burn. And then obviously you're not going to be wildcarding for what, 20 weeks probably, give or take. And obviously one of the regrets I've had, and I'll admit it's a regret now, was I went Rico Lewis in game week 1 instead of going for Botman.
Yeah.
And then obviously things have cropped up and I've never actually been able to get Botman in. And obviously it's been a bit of a blessing in the end. But really, I should have just got Botman in from the start. And I'd feel like on wildcard, if you didn't have this doubt surrounding him, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be long, but I mean, it could be. So I don't think you can go Botman. I think you have to go Burn. But it could be one, in 5-6 weeks, you're thinking, I really want Botman.
Yeah. I mean, Fabian Schär is available too, of course. Just
of course,
more expensive.
Yeah. The only doubt I had with him was he's a little bit older. So, and I know this argument was used for Trippier by some people. I just feel like Botman, when they're both fit, I feel like Botman is, 100% nailed. That's the impression I get from reading stuff from Newcastle fans. But I mean, it's probably not the end of the world if you have to go Burn over Botman. But
yeah. No, it's interesting. I thought I'd ask before we moved on to the over and under. So we're on to over and under now. So I've got 6 players here that are being very highly talked about at the moment, either being heavily sold or heavily bought. And we've got our projections as well. So the first one is Pedro Porro. He's got Luton away, Fulham at home, Crystal Palace away. Quite nice fixtures. I predicted him at 16.5 points. So, Rich, what do you think? 16.5 over or under?
Really like Porro, but I think that's under.
Yeah? Seb?
2 clean sheets. Oh, if he keeps 2 clean sheets, so that's 12 straight up with some bonus and an attacking return. This is another Andy masterclass because you're basically lands him on 16 points if he does something. So
would he score? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if he scores, this is over, right?
Yeah.
If he scores and keeps a clean sheet, it's basically that score in 1 week. I will go. His minutes have been decent, haven't they? I'll go over. I want to pick him, and I want an attacking return and a couple of clean sheets.
Right, you just say on Darwin, by the way, I don't know if you saw that comment in the chat from General Zod that Darwin's playing Brazil on the 18th, and then the Merseyside derby. It's one of the early kickoffs that Klopp likes on the 21st.
Ooh. Well, Darwin's next. So Darwin's next with 15.5 points. I projected him. He's got Brighton and Hove Albion away, Everton at home, Forest at home. 2 lovely home fixtures there. Seb, I'm going to go to you first. 15.5. Fancy it, over or under?
I mean, how long is Hakpo out, right? Because I mean, the Everton match, say he can't play, they still do have other players. They could make that work. Jota up front, Diaz left, Salah right, assuming those players are still fit. So you don't have to have Darwin or Hakpo. If he were to start all of them, I think that's probably a nice over. Although even then his minutes are a concern. He often does sub. He often subs on quite early, but subs off quite early too. So I think because of minutes, I would go under.
Rich?
Because of what General Zod said, I'm going under as well because I feel like that's the banker, isn't it? The Everton at home.
I was really hoping Seb would talk himself into it then and be like, "Oh, those are quite good. Oh, we could do this. Oh, I'm going to get him," but it didn't happen. First time appearing on Over and Under, I think, is Erling Haaland. So Haaland's next. I know
It's in one game.
So yeah, exactly. So I projected him.
Yeah, like against Wolves.
20.5. He's got Arsenal away, Brighton at home, Man United away. So 20.5, Rich. What do you think? Over or under?
I think that's quite an easy over. I mean, you've got Porro at 16.5. So will Haaland get 4 points more than Porro? Yes.
With those fixtures. Arsenal away, Man United away. Doesn't make a difference for him, you don't think?
No, I think 20.5. I think that's quite. Yeah, I'll be shocked if he doesn't, to be honest.
This is like, is that like that might be the second highest total we've had on here so far? You gave like Salah a 22 at one point, I think. Maybe Alvarez had a high 21. Yeah. I mean, it's basically one of the toughest fixture runs he could have, in 3 fixtures, give or take. And he's got a 20-point total, which is still massive. So three goals in that. If he scores, he probably gets bonus. So like 7-8 points. Yeah, a couple of goals might be over. I think over.
Might be. It's so conclusive. Watkins is next. He's got Wolves away, West Ham at home, Luton at home. I'll put him at 17.5. Seb, do you think he's going to carry on doing what he's been doing?
So assists are as much as thing as goals now, but that probably doesn't matter so much for a striker because it's 1 point difference, bit of bonus difference as well. Say he gets like 3, 4, 7, 9, 10. I could just be under. He could come out with like 16. I think over because you'd hope that because I don't know about Wolves. Luton, you would hope, is where he can profit. So you might be waiting to the last fixture, but I'll go just over.
Yeah, Rich.
Yeah, I think the fact he's got 2 home games, I'm going to go over for that as well.
Yeah. I don't even have to ask for the next one. It's Eze next. Forest at home, then Newcastle away, Spurs at home. I mean, the way you two have been honestly, it's like being on a stream with Phil Collins. It's just Eze lover over and over again playing.
Nice. How long you been holding on to that one, mate?
What's that? 13.5 I've given him here. Rich, 13.5. Over or under?
I mean, he can get a clean sheet point as well. So, yeah.
Clutching. That is disgusting.
Over.
Oh, well, yeah, we've got to remember the clean sheet points. Disgusting. So you're going over easy, are you?
Yes. Like my eggs.
Go on, what are you going for, Seb?
I think he needs to get the points in the Forest match, right? I will go under because I think it's the fixtures after this that he gets the points. When I was looking at Wildcard,
just needs a pen.
Was it like because 8, 9, and 10 was at the window, and I've been planning towards this 8, 9, and 10. The reason I've gone in 8 is you saw my team earlier, right? The opportunity is there, and the team has about 5 injuries in it or suspensions, so I needed to move on and take the opportunity. But if it had been like say a game week 10, I think Eze was in my draft. In a game week 8, he wasn't. So I think it's after 10 if I've got my fixtures correct in my head, which is when you really want him. So I think under until then, and then he starts looking very good.
All you two have been going on about is Eze. I say how many points he's going to get. You're both like, nah, he won't get that many points. Terrible.
Mate, I'm nearly 2 million. I need to throw some people some curveballs.
Mate, I'm up to about 3.2 million with a Colwell assist. I'm loving life. Bruno's up next. Bruno.
How many players are playing FPL now? Should we just wait a couple of weeks and we'll know
10
from Andy's
now.
rank? We'll know from Andy's rank.
It hit 10 mil, didn't it? Shut up. Bruno is next. He's got Brentford at home, Sheffield United away, Man City at home. I've got him as 12.5. Seb, what do you think?
I mean, it's kind of weirdly, it's similar to the Eze one, right? Because on penalties, talismanic in terms of, creating all their stuff. At a point lower. So, I mean, he turns up for 2 points. So you're getting 6 points in these matches. Keeps a clean sheet in a couple of them. You're well over halfway there. He basically needs an assist.
United keeping clean sheets.
I mean, I did have Dallo on one of those wildcards, didn't I? But again, I think, as we were saying, I think, again, it's about game week 10, is it, that Man United are a better pick? Or maybe 11. I'll go over because I think even more so than Eze, right? He gets a penalty, but the rest of his numbers are even better than Eze's. So in a couple of, basically the Sheffield United match, if he can return there, he'll get 12 points in like one match if he gets a goal.
Rich?
I think it's pretty easy over because let's say you keep one clean sheet, he's going to get 7 points.
You see,
minimum.
Rich holding a pen then? Has he been?
Yeah, he's been working it out.
Oh, I've got a pen.
Yeah, you've been, mate. He's writing it. What's this?
You can see my notes.
cheating.
It's from
He's cheating.
I got
Cheating.
a takeaway the other day.
Yeah.
It's my number. I was number 6, and I wrote on the back 3 Liverpool. Which again,
Like it.
yeah, I think it's in it. Yeah, I think it's over because 7 points just from appearances. If he keeps one clean sheet, he just has to get an assist. Could get a penalty. I think yeah. I'm almost surprised you're a Man United fan putting Bruno at just 12.5.
I'm done this season.
Or maybe that's the evidence you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, usually we now go on to our teams. Now, Seb and I have shown you lots of our drafts, so we're not going to show you our teams now. We're just going to go on to Rich's. So, Rich, talk us through your team and how your bus team is looking and what transfers you're thinking about making, because there are plenty of people out there that aren't on Wildcard or have already used the Wildcard or have no intention of using it for quite a while yet. So they're obviously going to be very interested in who you're thinking of bringing in as a priority.
This is going to be really short
Oh,
because compared to your amazing Wildcard teams, I've already done my transfer. Can you spot it?
no.
No. Okay.
Hold on. We'll get it.
Yeah, you
I
brought Son in.
told you both. I put it on
brought Son
WhatsApp
in.
and I said I've done a transfer.
Oh yeah.
All you two have been doing is talking about your
Rashford
bloody
to Son.
wildcards.
Rashford to Son, isn't it?
Yeah. I did
Yeah, makes sense.
Rashford to Son, and to be
Not
honest,
Sterling to Son.
I did it on Saturday night. I had exact money to do Rashford to Son. I didn't even
Fair.
particularly like it that much, but I just thought if I let Rashford to Son go and then I decide I want to do that, I can't afford it, and then I'll probably have to wildcard. So
That's fair.
I just did the move. I don't think it's an amazing move, but it gives me
Yeah.
slightly better captain potentially.
So I think your team, like, because our teams were relatively similar, like not that similar given the template, but relatively similar. But I think you've got a few key differences, which is why I think you've got more of flexibility with the wildcard. Was I always knew I wanted this window, but then my team basically forced me into it this week as opposed to say like 9, which I think was actually my best when I was like running various solves. You've got obviously access to Son for a start, and you've got Sterling, Robertson in there helps a little bit. Walker, no, you don't have some of the injuries I have there as well. I think I can see why you haven't wildcarded. Obviously, we'd hope to do better than you the next few weeks, but I think you can keep pace. And then, so what's your plan? Is it like the end of this period, like game week 10, or more around that sort of blank double time?
I'm really not sure. I'm just trying to hang on to it because, I mean, well, first of all, where I'm going to be at the weekend. It's going to be 3 a.m. and I'll have been drinking, so I don't particularly want to be finalising a wild card at 3 in the morning.
Live wildcard stream.
Brilliant.
No, definitely not. But there's a few players I don't want to lose that maybe a lot of people would. Like, I still feel like I know Sterling hasn't played today because of this virus, but I do like Sterling away to Burnley. I mean, Liverpool's fixtures are about to turn, so I really want to hold on to Robertson. I'm happy with Trippier and Walker as well. Walker less so because their fixtures aren't great. Stupinan, obviously, he's going to become. Everyone's going to want him in about three game weeks time. So I mean, I've got 7 penalty takers for 7 different teams. If Sterling plays, of course, that is. I'm just going to ride it out another week. I mean, the downside is I'm
Sterling was
playing
penalty
Morris at home
taker?
to Tottenham. Say that again, sorry.
Do you say who said Sterling was a penalty taker?
He had the ball. Someone mentioned that he had the ball in the game the other week.
Right.
I mean, I know
But
there's that
Enzo
thing where they
took
pass
one,
it on
right?
to someone
Enzo took
else,
one.
but- Sorry, what did you say?
Didn't Enzo take one?
Enzo took the only one they've
Yeah.
had. Enzo took one.
Yeah,
But,
and he missed. But I wouldn't be confident that Sterling is a penalty taker.
okay. Well, okay. I've got.
I mean, I
6
know that's not
penalty
going to change
takers. I'm
anything
pretty
here, but
confident
just-
Sterling
okay,
is
fair.
the penalty taker
Okay.
from what
I
I've
mean,
read. And
This talking over each other and then silence
It's
for a
not
couple
me
of seconds
doing
is
it.
perfect for the pod, lads.
can you edit the bits of sound?
No, I can't. No.
No. Okay.
Right, let's move on to the community team now. But by the way, that was 1 free transfer. You don't have 2, do you? It was just 1.
Yeah, I've only got one,
Yeah.
and I've got 0.0 in the bank. I mean, it doesn't look great when you compare it to your.
Well, it
to your
won't do,
wildcard
will it?
teams.
Yeah, exactly. But you're obviously going to be trying to hold that wildcard for as long as possible, aren't you?
Possibly. I mean, I could still use it in 10, but like
Yeah.
I said, I'd rather bring in Liverpool players if I wildcard. So
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is one for me. I'm definitely going to have a bad game week this week. My team doesn't look great, let's be honest. But
We'll
next
see.
week it will look better.
There's a nice one in 14, I think, off the top of my head. There's a nice opportunity there as well.
Then it's so close to the blanks and the potential double.
I think
That's true.
yeah, I think you
I
keep
do like
it.
the
You could,
idea
you
of trying
can.
to
I
keep
guess
it,
you
yeah.
could plan for it though. Like it's close, so you wouldn't be literally just wildcarding for the blanks and double, but I guess at least you'd be close enough to go, I've built a team that can handle it with planned transfers. Whereas if we did that now, that would be madness.
I don't know how I've got away with this, to be honest, because I've got Rico Lewis on the bench. I'm still clinging on.
Right, let's have a look at the community team. I'm going to apologise now. I'm pretty sure they took this screenshot on a Nokia 3210, but there you go. So they've got Onana in goal, Botman with 0, Ruben Diaz with -1, Kabore with 1, Rashford 2, Matoma 1, Sterling, who obviously isn't playing and might come on. He hasn't come on yet. Saka 9, Maddison 2, Alvarez 8, and Haaland 4. So they're struggling a little bit. Cash is going to be coming on for Botman, and obviously if Sterling also doesn't come on, then they're getting the Estupinian -2 coming on for them as well. So I don't know. I thought they were giving it the big one this week on the timeline. They posted a picture of 3 people with masks on, didn't they? And I thought they were giving it the big one a little bit. But then I've seen their team and they've struggled a little bit this week. So
I think he just saw some Mexican wrestlers and show us the picture.
No, they were giving it the big one. But obviously, yeah, so it's interesting to see where they go moving forward because they haven't told me they're wildcarding. They've obviously still got that in their back pocket, but they do have a few issues again. So be interested to see what they do. But their team, I don't know, be interested to see what they do. So thank you again to FPL Rank Chaser for sorting out the community team. I think we're still in it. I think a good week from me and Seb here, and all of a sudden, I think all 3 of us could be above them, but we'll see how
we'll beat it. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Never in doubt. Never in doubt.
When we finish 1 and 2 in the world, how could we not beat it? That's just how numbers work.
Exactly, yeah. And Rich will be top 10 somewhere. Right, now then, we are, I mean, he would finish top 3, but he's going to Vegas. So, right, let's have a bit of a Q&A. So we've got over 600 people in the chat, so thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think we peaked just under 700. Chuck some questions in and we'll answer as many as possible, usually about 5 minutes. So we'll answer as many as possible as quickly as possible.
5 minutes per question.
Yeah, it used to be. Not so much now. You guys are getting much quicker now. Let's have a look. Mikkel says, so annoying you don't say the points total. Yeah, I know. I do apologise. I think they were on 28, so 34 with the cash coming in. But obviously, if Sterling doesn't play, then they'll be down again because of a Stupinan coming in.
It's tough.
Yes. Thomas says, I've got the same midfield as Rich. Sorry, mate. Would you sell Sterling for a hit? If yes, who is the best next 2 weeks punt? I can't afford Maddison. So, Rich, I'm just going to give this one to you, because he's got the same midfield as you. Would you sell Sterling for a hit?
No. I mean, I wouldn't even sell him for, if I had a free transfer. Burnley away next. I think he's an easy hold.
Yeah.
If it's only a virus, clearly he was going to start if he didn't have that. So,
yeah. No, I do agree. I'd be quite surprised if he comes on, to be honest. If he's got a virus, I don't see, especially with him being 2-0 up, I don't see why they bring him on. Interesting as well, Mudryk went off and Martson came on. So you'd have thought Sterling would come on for Mudryk if he was going to.
But that's on the left though, isn't it? Like,
he'd probably come on for Palmer.
Because like Martin's can play left back and played there in pre-season. Chilwell's obviously done that job. Sterling wouldn't give you width on the left. So I don't know if that might be tactical rather than personnel.
Yeah, fair enough. David Hughes says, how likely are Andy and Seb to go without Haaland? Seb, if you had to give me a percentage right now.
40.
40? Ooh. Mine's lower. If you'd have asked me on Saturday when I was texting you two, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm definitely doing it. I'm down to about 20% now. Mainly because I'm actually quite happy with the team. I think getting Porro in made a big difference. Porro in with the I really like that. I looked at my team and thought, actually, I quite like that now.
I think the one thing, when you were looking at those drafts, I think the one thing to keep in mind is that the Haaland, Salah and Son draft just intrinsically removes a lot of flexibility. You really are relying on, say, I don't know, your cheaper Newcastle defenders not get rotated, or who else is in there? The cheaper midfielders. Like, what if Gordon isn't nailed anymore? What if, Isak starts playing on the left, Wilson up front? I think you're relying on some of those cheaper players, and there isn't necessarily an easy way to run away. Whereas naturally, a team without, say, a Haaland has easier places to go and better players in those slots. But obviously, that's one of the conversations you'll have with yourself.
Yeah. Stefan, which draft are you leaning towards? For me, it's the first draft I showed tonight. But my team actually isn't that draft at the moment because price changes are just crazy. So I've got Trippier in my team at the moment because you never know. He might go up 0.2 by the time we do it. And then I get 0.1 out of him. So, my actual team at the moment doesn't look like the team it is on the screen, but that's probably what I'm going to be going for. What about you, Seb? Where are you leaning?
Yeah, same as you. Mine is all sort of like me trying to guess price changes and not sell a player that's already gone up to catch one and then have to get them back and mess up. And I'm sure I'll mess up. But in terms of team, honestly, don't know. I am most incentivized to try and make a Haaland and Salah team work because you're on wildcard. You can have any player you want within reason. I will go there first, and then I'll probably last minute drop one of them, panic, and do something silly.
Yeah. We got a question from Aston Villa. Bozzy says, "I have a question for Rich. Why are you called Flapjack?"
I really don't know. I think I was eating one when I made my name. I think it was literally that. I could have been Mars bar, for all I know.
You used to have the Elmo emoji as well, didn't you?
I don't know why I had that either.
Profile picture. Yeah, that's brilliant.
No reason behind either.
There's an opportunity for a great origin story here.
Yeah, there is.
I should make one up, but there's no reason for either.
Love it. Govinda says, "Guys, can you help me, please? I scored 69 points and rose from 183k to 49k. Is that any good?" Stop it, Govinda. Yes, it's good. Look at our ranks.
Maybe Govinda has, and he's got Sterling, and Sterling, he's from the future, and Sterling scored a hat-trick.
Maybe that is. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Mikel Paulson says, "Triple Villa and triple Spurs. Is that too many eggs in one basket, Seb?"
No.
Like it. Rich?
No, but I will. I think one thing on triple Spurs, I think if I was wildcarding, I might only have two. I kind of like what Praz did. You know how Praz has dead-ended and then he's wildcarding out of triple Spurs.
Right.
I don't know if because I feel like the conversation we've had today, it looks like you're going to be selling Spurs after a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Or beginning to.
Interesting. FPL Bighead says, "I'm 4.4 million, but I'm not wildcarding. Am I crazy?" Seb?
Your rank has nothing to do with whether you should wildcard or not. Sure, your rank says that it hasn't gone so well so far, but if the reason it hasn't gone so well is you just got unlucky and your team looks great, then don't wildcard out of it. The reason to wildcard is for opportunity, not out of a bad team. So, good fixture shifts or doubles or blanks, something like that. That's why we've picked this little 8 to 9, 10 period. Then the reason I'm choosing 8 over, say, 9 or 10 is because my team is now in a position where it's, suffering with injuries and poor players, and I need to fix it. But unless both of those things are the case for you, no, you don't have to go this week at all.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Right, we're going to leave it there then. So, chat, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Like I said, I think we peaked just below 700, so that's fantastic for tonight. Thank you so much. We always seem to be on. Well, I think we had 2 weeks where the football hasn't been on, but obviously we always seem to be competing against football at the moment. But hopefully soon we have a quiet Monday night. We've obviously got the match tomorrow night as well, so the Luton-Burnley game is on tomorrow night as well.
What game?
But Rich won't even be watching it because he'll be in Vegas, probably having a sit-down meal, quietly, maybe having a glass of wine.
Have an awesome time, mate.
Yeah, but Rich, have an awesome time, mate. So you're not on SCOUTCAST next week, are you?
But it's international break, I think.
True.
Yeah, but we might do a break one now, I think, don't we?
Without me? No, I think you might be.
I mean, that's a big reason,
honestly, I'll be really interested to see both your wildcard teams.
Me too, mate. Me too.
I've tried not to be too negative just because I'm not wildcarding, but
you've done very well tonight.
Okay, last question for you then, Rich. When you're looking at this, us wildcarding now as the reason to wildcard and also our teams, are you just sat here thinking man, I've got them.
No, because I've played this game long enough to know even if it doesn't seem, it could go very wrong. As in, I might want to be jumping on Villa straight away, but I probably won't because I'm stubborn. You just never know, do you? It could go amazingly, but from what I've seen so far this season, the odds are not.
From what I've seen from you two so far this season, it's over, lads.
I don't mean from you two, by the way. I mean from the game.
Yeah, I get it.
People have made logical wildcards and just been destroyed. You can't even tell they wildcarded, and they only wildcarded 2 weeks ago. So
I'm not even sure he's coming back from Vegas. He's burning bridges all over the place, isn't he? Look at him. He's like, I'm not coming back. Screw you guys. Seb, thank you so much for coming on this week, mate. I'm really looking forward to having you back on next week, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. We'll get to have a proper chat, won't we? Without
Yeah,
this other,
exactly.
this flapjack person.
Or Mars Bar, as he's going to be called now. Thank you so much, like I said, to everybody that's in the chat. Obviously, we've got a busy week ahead of us, and next game week could be very interesting indeed. So if you ever got any questions, make sure to tag us on Twitter, and I'm sure we'll try and answer them for you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.